2,000 years ago, in the middle of a desert where summer temperatures climbed past 40 degrees Celsius, people were making ice. No electricity, no machines, just clay, water, and a brilliant understanding of the night sky. For almost all of human history, the refrigerator didn't exist, and yet people still kept milk fresh, meat safe, and drinks cold. Some of their tricks were so clever that we still use the exact same science today. So, how did they do it? Start with the problem. Before refrigeration, a single warm afternoon could turn fresh food into something deadly. Bacteria double in number roughly every 20 minutes in warm conditions, so a jug of milk left out in summer could make a whole family sick by evening. Food was hard to grow and harder to store, so letting it rot was not an option. Every culture on Earth faced the same enemy, heat, and each one found its own answer. And those answers came down to two ideas: either keep the food cold or stop the rot before it starts. The simplest way to find cold was to go down. Just a few meters below the surface, the ground stays at a steady, cool temperature all year, often around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, even when the air above is baking, so people dug. Root cellars carved into hillsides kept vegetables crisp through the winter. In many villages, families built a springhouse, a small stone hut over a cold running stream, and set jugs of milk and butter right in the flowing water. The constant cold current did the work of a modern fridge, for free, forever. But the real prize was ice. In cold regions, people learned to harvest winter itself. When lakes and rivers froze solid, workers would saw the ice into heavy blocks, haul them out, and pack them into thick-walled buildings called icehouses. The secret was insulation. Layers of straw, hay, or sawdust wrapped around the ice slowed the melting so much that blocks cut in January could survive deep into summer. The Romans did something similar 2,000 years ago, sending runners up into the mountains to bring back snow, which they packed into pits and used to chill wine and food for the wealthy. Now for the most astonishing trick of all. In the deserts of ancient Persia, where there were no frozen lakes and no mountain snow nearby, engineers built machines made of mud that produced ice out of thin air. They were called yakhchals, and they still stand today. A yakhchal was a tall, cone-shaped dome of special clay built over a deep underground storage pit. At night, the desert sky is so clear and so cold that any object facing it radiates its heat away into space, a phenomenon we now call radiative cooling. The Persians channeled shallow water into the shaded pools beside the yakhchal. On cold desert nights, that thin layer of water would lose its heat to the open sky and freeze, even when daytime temperatures had been scorching. Workers collected the ice before dawn and stored it deep inside the dome, where thick walls and clever ventilation towers, called wind catchers, kept it frozen through the summer. Ice, in the desert, with nothing but clay, water, and the night. The same basic physics powered an even simpler invention, one so cheap that it is still saving food in hot countries right now. It is called the tin pot, or zeer. Take a large clay pot, place a smaller clay pot inside it, and fill the gap between them with wet sand. As the water in the sand slowly evaporates through the porous clay, it pulls heat out of the inner pot, dropping the temperature inside by several degrees. Vegetables that would spoil in 2 days can last for weeks. No power, no parts, just evaporation doing what it has always done, but cold was not the only weapon. If you could not keep food cold, the next best thing was to make it impossible for bacteria to grow. This is where humans got truly inventive. Salt pulled the moisture out of meat and fish, leaving nothing for microbes to feed on, which is why salted cod and cured ham could survive long sea voyages. Smoke coated food in natural preservatives while drying it at the same time. The sun turned grapes into raisins and meat into jerky. Sugar preserved fruit as jam, and fermentation transformed milk into cheese and cabbage into food that lasted all winter. None of it needed a single degree of cooling. Then, in the 1800s, cold itself became a business. A young American named Frederic Tudor had a wild idea: cut ice from the frozen lakes of New England and ship it to hot places that had never seen it. People laughed at him. His first shipments melted, and he landed in debt. But Tudor figured out that sawdust, a waste product from sawmills, was an almost perfect insulator. Packed in sawdust, his ice could survive months at sea. Soon he was shipping New England ice all the way to the Caribbean and even to India, thousands of miles across the ocean. They called him the Ice King. Back home, families began keeping a wooden cabinet lined with metal and insulation with a block of ice in the top, the ice box, the direct ancestor of the machine in your kitchen. And that machine is what finally ended it all. By the early 1900s, mechanical refrigeration, using compressed gases to pull heat out of a sealed box, became cheap and reliable enough for ordinary homes. The ice trade collapsed almost overnight. The springhouses, the ice houses, and even the great desert yakhchals fell silent, replaced by a quiet hum in the corner of the kitchen. But here is the thing worth remembering: none of these old methods were primitive. They were the result of people reading their world with incredible care: the temperature of the soil, the clearness of the night sky, the way water disappears into dry air. They understood the physics of cold long before they had the words for it. And the next time you open your fridge without a second thought, remember, humans spent thousands of years and an enormous amount of genius just to do the thing that now happens automatically. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, because next time we are looking at how people stayed cool through brutal summers before air conditioning ever existed.